This is a real distinct pleasure for me. I've known David for quite some time. He actually gave me my shot at Cablevision, so I have him to thank for the last 10 years of skinning my knees on Addressable, and back in the days where it was really just 100,000 households in Brooklyn. But beyond that, I can't identify another person that's done more for advanced television over literally decades at this point than David. David Kline, EVP of Charter Communications, as well as the president of Spectrum Reach, which is the ad sales division. And for full disclosure, he's also a board member of 605, so shares many
as luck would have it.
But it's like it feels like family at this point. But I thought we'd start, and we have 10 minutes literally, so we're going to jump right in.
Right ahead.
For someone that's really been focused on advanced advertising for so long, like how would you define the state of where we are today relative to years past?
Well, we're further along, but we're not far enough along. And one of the reasons, I think somebody asked about it on the last panel, I think it was Laura, asked about why, it's been right around the corner for the last 10 years, addressable TV. I think a big reason for that is many operators, many distributors are in the subscription television business. They're not in per se, the advertising business. And I think that's perception now is starting to change. They're always going to be in the subscription business, selling video products and high-speed data and telephony and soon mobile phone service for some of us. And advertising has always sort of been, hey, we'll take that money. It's great, high margin, but we're not going to invest as much in it. I think we were one of the first ones at Cablevision to do that, and it really paid off in a big way. And I think we're starting to do that at Charter. I know at DirecTV, they've got a robust addressable platform. Today, as a matter of fact, we launched linear household addressability in Los Angeles, and our footprint in New York will be months away. So, I think it's not moved fast. Maybe it's moved fast in cable years, but it hasn't moved fast in anything else. But you know what? It's starting to happen now. There's at least 35 million households now that have addressable TV. And I think you're going to see it continue to ramp up because we've realized, and this is something I think is really a critical point, the cable companies and the cable networks are going to start working, are already doing it, but we're going to start working together even more in the future. So not only can we make addressability happen and data-infused campaigns happen in our footprint, but we could enable national networks to be able to use that same data to help target better and to be addressable in our platform. And I will tell you, that really starts to add up. And I think you're seeing companies like ours and Comcast and others really starting to work with programmers to make that happen. So I think you're going to see an acceleration of this stuff. And but I'm disappointed we're not further along. But I'm going to have to set that aside and make sure that we're all doing whatever we can. And I don't know if some of you've seen, might have just read, we just put a new CEO in at NCC, someone who is steeped in the digital platform building, taking something from whiteboard to market, and we've aggregated our advanced advertising there. So I think it is really starting to be a sea change in how distributors are starting to look at ourselves, not just as a ad sales group, but as a enabler for our network partners.
And I thought that was one of the things that was interesting about the NCC announcement, aside from the new head, but that the owners are actually basically contributing their advanced ad sales divisions into NCC. So the concept basically is for NCC to represent advertising across the board, both conventional,
we make it so goddamn hard for advertisers to buy. You can buy my networks and my footprint, and then you can buy Comcast, and then DirecTV's got their own, and we make it so hard. Google, Facebook, it's one buy. So we think that if we can use, at least for the partnership of NCC, get our membership to aggregate everything under one place and then be able to represent 60 million households or 50 million households at one time, that's a great start for advertisers. And, I don't think it's arguable that we have some of the best data in the business. It's all aggregated, it's all anonymized, it's no PII, but we have it and we know how to use that data in that privacy compliant way to really make buys much smarter, much more targeted, and you get the benefit of digital on the, I won't even say it the big screen, I'll say it's TV, because TV is that. It's on your living room wall, it's in your pocket, it's in your briefcase, it's everywhere.
And how about the interconnect too? Because there was some news recently about kind of a relaunch. Can you talk a little bit about
we just
that?
put after 20 years apart, and I was there when Warner Cable left the New York Interconnect. So I stuck around the industry for another 20 years, got this job, and then put it back together.
Right, so that was the real motivation.
So I do work fast, but it's
That's
together.
That's one way to do it, though.
It is. It's one way to do it, but you know what? It's the number one market, and the number one market now will be very steeped in household addressability, which I'll tell you, that's going to help the rest of the country. If you can get the biggest markets to do that. There's lots of set-top box data that we have. There's lots of set-top box data that Comcast and Altice has, and we're bringing it all together in the biggest market.
And what does because it's kind of now moving into more of an independent entity, similar to, I guess, AdLink in LA.
Yeah, it's not managed by any one of us. We have a separate board. It's co-owned by Altice, Charter, and Comcast. So it's independently run.
Which is very similar to the NCC board as well.
Yeah, the NCC board is very similar.
The thing that you mentioned earlier about the partnerships, in the past, maybe the systems would work together with the interconnects, but what's interesting is this concept of the MVPDs working in tandem with the programmers, because ultimately, for Addressable to truly scale, even if it's fully scaled in the 2 minutes an hour, it needs to break out on the national avail. Is that really the end game?
It is. I mean, we have to help networks like ESPN and AMC and USA Network and the Fox networks. If they really want to make their network inventory more valuable, they need to get it better targeted and more relevant. And we have the platforms that can do that. And if we build it for ourselves, which we've done and are doing, we're certainly already doing it on demand on the linear side, we will be able to help them. And someone asked a question, what do you think it's going to look like, the landscape's going to look like in 5 years? I certainly don't have my head in the sand, and we're trying to be on every platform, but I think it's going to look a lot like it does today in 5 years. I think the model for the networks right now, the best model is the widest amount of distribution that they get and the license fees they get from companies like ours and other distributors. But I'm not naive. We know that things will evolve and viewership will move to other places, but there is still a ton of viewership on what we would call traditional platforms, and I think that's going to continue for quite some time.
But I know Charter's also been really successful with the app, and it seems like the consumption has really grown on that as well.
Yeah,
so
but that to me is that's TV. That's
right.
You got an app. It's on your phone. It's on your tablet. It's on your smart TV. We still get all the data from it. You can still do everything you want to do from it. But that to me is we got to be in the business of saying to a client or an advertiser, tell me what you want. Who do you want? What audience do you want? Let me go find it. Don't worry about if it's on demand, if it's streaming, if it's live. Let me worry about that. You can log on every night and see where your impressions are coming from. We'll be very transparent about it. And that's what we're building. And I don't think we're that far away from doing much of that. The longest thing will be, I would say, probably getting our head of steam up for a huge linear addressable footprint. I think that's going to take a couple of years between us and Comcast and some of the others. Like I said, some of the other platforms like DirecTV and Dish, they're well ahead. Right. And they've done a great job of monetizing it. So it's not like we have to guess that if we have it, that people will come. We know they will. So you're
saying getting from the 40 or so odd million to like full addressable
national
enablement.
Advertisers don't want 40 million homes. They want 60 million, 70, 80.
Right.
It's a good start. But I think we've got some catch up to play. But I think we're really dedicated to doing it, and I think I see the same thing on Comcast front and on our front. And like I said, those are between the two of us, we represent a lot of homes in the United States.
Well, and growing too. I mean,
yes.
There's been a lot of news. I'm sure there'll be a lot of news in the coming months, based on all the activity. And we'll look forward to seeing all the developments. So thank you, David. I really appreciate the time.
My pleasure. Thank you.